It is with great remorse that I address you all today, for there have been some false, devious accusations towards me personally over recent days, implying that I am biased towards the Crusader states. In fact, that in some ways I favor the Crusader states over the other factions and over the other states. These rumors are false and unfounded. And in fact, these rumors have no basis in reality. They have not a leg to stand on. And I am sick and tired of sitting here and listening to the criticisms and the falsehoods trying to pin me as somebody I am not. All right? I view all the factions and love them all equally. There's not one single thing that I've ever done to favor the Crusader states or show favor towards the Crusader states. In fact, this simply is an attempt, a smear campaign led by my enemies to try to sow dissent and discord in our community, and I will not tolerate it. In fact, I think the very objective of these attacks is not just to smear me, but to tear our beloved community apart. And so I will not tolerate them, and I will no longer abide by them. And it is because of this I've decided to come make this announcement to address these claims and once and for all put it all behind us that I am not biased towards the Crusader states and against the anti-Crusader states and other factions. This is not true. Never was true, and it never will be. In fact, I am so upset about these accusations, I just might do something about it. And if they do not stop, people are going to regret the fact that these accusations were made in the first place. Disgusting, deplorable. And if they continue, I'm going to have to do something. And in fact, I dislike the Crusaders so much, I think that if anything's true, it's the opposite. I've never once shown any sort of favoritism towards the Crusaders or any other faction for that matter. And now I'm going to mine in peace. And none of you can stop me. And if I hear one more time about Mythandir being biased, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to absolutely lose it. This mining is so fun. I could do this all day. You're not even going to see me. I'm not even going to say anything else. I'm just going to mine this whole time. I just want to mine in peace. Why can I not just mine in peace? It's so hard to fucking tell which direction spear attacks are coming from. Well, if no more accusations will be present, then I guess I can move on to the next order of business. And this order of business is an announcement. The announcement is this. The entirety of the Third Crusade map, mostly including the road places, is getting redone, and it is being swapped in favor of a historically accurate and relevant map. I cannot give any timelines on when this will be completed. It'll probably be completed sooner than many of you suspect. And if you think I'm not being sincere about this, this is the schematics I've drawn up to include 7, actually be a total of 9 new road maps in an aggregated release over the next few releases. And we found methods in order to do this in a way that is extremely quick compared to old processes. And so the Byzantines, for example, who are not depicted in this drawing, will actually be able to reconquer their territory incrementally as they would have. So you can actually see, instead of like Malbork being next to Tarsus, which doesn't make any sense geographically, you could have Isaac and his gang of thugs essentially start from their old Byzantine territory and reconquer the old Byzantine Empire progressively this way. Or if the Cypriots decide that the Emperor of Cyprus is resentful that he lost the Byzantine throne and he wants to retake the Byzantine Empire from within, he can. Or if the Crusaders want to historically conquer the Holy Land as they did, starting with the First Crusade, going from Byzantine territory, coming down through Anatolia and Antioch, and making their way to Jerusalem and establishing the Crusader states. Or like they did in the Third Crusade, they can capture Acre and attempt to do it that way as well. Or in the Sixth Crusade, when they went through Damietta, which is the Fifth Crusade, when they went through Damietta to try to conquer Egypt and go up. All these are possible with this new update, as well as the potential of future conquests such as the Abbasids wanting to conquer the world. Baghdad is just off the road here. They could do so, like this. Or let's say the Ayyubids from Egypt want to reenact Saladin's conquest out of Cairo, establishing the Sultanate of the Ayyubids. They are at liberty to do that. All of this is possible, and much more with these new maps. They will be geographically accurate. You'll be able to walk in the places where Crusaders and anti-Crusaders actually walked. You'll actually be able to walk through the Dead Sea into Karak or down to Montreal. This includes a ton of new maps, obviously, some of which will be just included in these road regions and some have not. And we've done this as a part of a new update we're going to do, which is totally going to reinvent capturing as we know it and go back to a road battle style capturing. We're not getting rid of sieges and battles. We're doing intermittent road battles that will spontaneously go up over territory, where factions will clash over territory in the road like they used to, over minor points, in a much quicker, more action-paced manner. And this is all going to be released as soon as we can. Right now, it's my top priority, and I know that it's going to make the game much more fun and engaging, and personally, I can't wait to play it myself and be able to walk from Jerusalem to Jaffa and actually walk historically where it was, not on a map that, like ours, has so many problems because we've had to do it this way because we originally made a lot of the maps not intending for it to all be stitched together in RPG. But now that we're in RPG and we have some new tools and some awesome height map rendering that we can do, we can make extremely geographically accurate and awesome large scale and emphasis on performance. We're going to make sure they perform extremely well. Road maps, tons of them, where people can vie over territory in the road and forts and towers like they used to. And these will all lead to being able to take sieges, and sieges will not happen every day like they do now. They're going to have to be earned, and they're going to be very costly, which sounds dismaying at first. But to be honest, it's a lot better. I know when sieges happen every day, they can get a little dull and boring. But imagine once every 2 weeks, you get on and you see that there's a siege, about how excited you're going to be to go participate in the siege. And the siege is going to have breaks, intermittent breaks, and all things like that allow us to carry a siege on over days. So you don't have to sit in the game that long, but it could take place over in-game days or even real days. Potentially if it's a really long drawn-out siege, making the game just a lot more realistic, a lot more immersive, and a lot more punishing for losing bases. But at the same time, losing bases are going to be a lot harder because you have to actually conquer all this territory here. So for example, let's say I wanted to go from Antioch and capture Jerusalem like the Crusade did in the first Crusade. I would have to take my Crusader army or whatever army. I would take Antioch. I would have to take all the forts in between Antioch and Sion, and then take Sion. I'll then have to take these coastal cities, and then attack Tripoli, Babylos, and establish a line, just like the Crusaders did, a supply line, to eventually go in and attack Jerusalem. I couldn't just do this. I'd actually have to fight over the territory. So you'll see actual kingdoms evolve, where you have like the Crusader states might be here, and the ACS might be, here, and they'll be vying over actual territory, and you'll get to see it daily. Oh God, sorry about that. You'll get to actually see. You'll get to see it daily when it happens. And this is just an example with the states, but this can happen with factions too, where you could have. You could have England taking Jaffa, Arsuf, and this coast here. You could have KOJ, who they're allied with, let's just say, owning this territory. And then you could have the Ayyubids down south, who control all of Egypt and are pushing in to this road. And you can see the outlines here. It's not going to include some of the non-historically relevant areas because we don't want to just overly flood it. The Ayyubids are pushing in there. And then from the north, you might have reinforcing French soldiers up here that actually are at war with England. And so they're pushing in England, and England's getting kind of pushed in at both. England and Jerusalem are getting captured on both sides. And then you have the Byzantines and the Cyprus alliance kind of just coming through and taking out this whole territory up here. And by the way, there's going to be a roadmap of Europe as well. And then you might have all the other little Crusader states, like the Hospitallers might have Crac de Chevalier and over here. And the Seljuks might have Palmyra, right? And we're going to have more little territories in here that they're able to own. So a faction will be able to actually own a lot more territory than just their capital, potentially. And the Assassins might be able to own Masyaf in here, and they might actually be up in Alamut as well, and kind of having to maintain a long-distance empire, which will be difficult. Right, so like all the factions can actually sneak in here. Sicily is going to get its own roadmap that connects Messina and Syracusa and several other Sicilian maps specifically. Just because that's where we actually want the pilgrims to spawn, is in the Sicilian area, right? And then Cyprus is going to get its own roadmap eventually as well, containing all of this. So there'll be several island maps, all of that. And then there's going to be a European map and a European theater, and eventually a Northern European theater where we're thinking about doing Viking stuff. Eventually there'll be a roadmap in Spain where we can do the Reconquista. Eventually we're thinking about doing a roadmap in Mongolia to do Mongol invasions, and Mongols will actually potentially be NPCs that the factions are going to have to unite against. This is all exclusive content, and the Mongols might be pushing in and attacking, and all the factions might be able to make an alliance to take out the really overpowered NPC Mongols. So all that is in store, and I just wanted to tell you all about it after addressing the accusations. The accusations obviously were more important, but this has already been started. We've begun the process of doing this already, and so the roadmap as you know it will probably not be used. We might find some use for some of the towns and such, but essentially we're going to go for more of an in favor of a realistic style with more realistic territory conquest and all of that. We started this rather recently, so I mean the thing is making these maps is actually extremely quick with some of the new programs we have. It's just a matter of building some of these towns. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to release some of these roadmaps that are necessary, like these, and then not include these other ones, while still Nicosia, you'll see, will still be accessible. But these maps all have stuff we haven't built yet, so those maps won't just be done. So we actually can release this a lot sooner than when it's completely complete. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's really all there is to it. So, hope you guys enjoy the idea. We'll be releasing more teasers for it, and essentially coming forward with a bunch of new content revolving around this idea, and I hope you guys are going to like it. I'm going to do my best to make it as awesome as possible, and it's going to make the world a lot bigger, but it's also going to make the world a lot more exciting and intensive, especially along these city-dense areas. So there'll be a lot of areas with wilderness, inland, and there'll be a lot of areas with cities and civilization along the coast. So some areas where there's a ton of players and some areas where it's more just wilderness. But thanks, guys, and hope you enjoyed. And stop with the baseless rumors about me, preferably. Yeah. Yeah. Hope you guys are gonna like what's coming, and I'll keep you guys tuned on when it comes out and all that. But we're gonna do our best to get it done as soon as possible.